Very good morning to you. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
Here are your headlines at 7 o'clock on this Monday morning. 90 million doses of potential coronavirus vaccines have been secured by the government after deals with overseas developers.
New hope for a treatment for COVID-19. Scientists in Southampton say their trial could be a game changer.
Privacy campaigners say England's test and trace programme has broken data protection laws.
Well, as lockdown's been easing across the country and we're enjoying the great outdoors again, unfortunately, we've been seeing an increase of litter across all our beaches. So today we'll be talking about the effort it takes to pick that up, but also the detrimental effects it has on our sea life.
We are in for a thrilling day's cricket at Old Trafford as a brilliant spell of bowling from Stuart Broad gives England the chance to beat the West Indies.
Good morning. It's Monday. It's the 20th of July. And the top story for you today is that the government has signed deals to secure 90 million doses of coronavirus vaccines, which are being developed overseas.
The agreements, one with a German-US partnership and one with a French firm, are in addition to a pledge for 100 million doses of a vaccine created at the University of Oxford, which is undergoing clinical trials. Here's our medical correspondent, Fergus Walsh.
There are now an astonishing 23 coronavirus vaccines in clinical trials around the world, including 2 in the UK, developed by Oxford University and Imperial College London. Today, the government announced deals with 2 overseas vaccine producers. BioNTech Pfizer is one of the frontrunners. A German-US partnership, its coronavirus vaccine produced a strong immune response in early trials. If it's successful, the first of 30 million doses could arrive by the end of the year. The other deal is with the French firm Valneva, who won't begin trials of their jab till the autumn. That agreement is for 60 million doses. Its vaccine will contain an inactivated virus. This is a more tried and tested method for creating a vaccine, so could be important if others fail. There's already a deal to buy 100 million doses of the vaccine produced by Oxford University. This may look like the UK government has overbought, but bear in mind that 9 in 10 vaccines are unsuccessful, and you see the logic behind the decision to back several horses in the search for a winner. Also, most of the coronavirus vaccines in trials require more than one dose. Vaccine trials depend on volunteers. The public are being encouraged to sign up to a new NHS website to speed up the process for joining coronavirus vaccine studies. The aim is to get 500,000 people to register interest by October. Fergus Walsh, BBC News.
And actually, we can speak to Fergus Walsh right now. Morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning.
This sounds like a huge amount of vaccines to, have put their name on, as it were. And you explained a bit there, but, 9 in 10 don't even work. That's right?
Yes, when it comes to trials, most vaccines that start out looking promising, at the end of the day, they simply don't work in the real world. And that's the thing we've got to caution. We're getting lots of results coming through at the moment from some of the nearly 24 vaccines that are undergoing trials. And they look promising in the initial stages. They produce a good immune response. And then as time goes on, they fall by the wayside because they simply don't protect people in the real world. And so what the government is doing is it's hedging its bets. It's buying a lot of doses of vaccine now from 3 different manufacturers, 3 different processes involved to try and find one that works. And there might be some raised eyebrows in the EU because the government decided not to sign up to a coronavirus vaccine procurement program, and it's gone ahead and done its own deals. And the deal with BioNTech and Pfizer, I think, is the first deal that company, German-US company partnership, has done with any government for its vaccine.
Tell us a little bit about the Oxford trials as well, because have been suggestions that they might be ahead in the race. How's it going?
Yeah, so theirs is a very interesting vaccine. It uses a viral vector. It uses a harmless virus to deliver its payload to try and create an immune response. And early trials started in April in humans in Oxford, and thousands of volunteers have been immunised now. It's going to be publishing its early data showing immunity levels later today in the Lancet, and I fully expect those to show a good immune response, both for neutralizing antibodies and for another part of the immune system, T cells. And that'll be really important because it'll allow it, in a sense, to pass go and keep going. But it won't tell us whether that vaccine actually protects. And that could be months away. It could be next year before we know that.
So many unknowns. But Fergus, thank you very much for bringing us right up to date. Thank you.
Really interesting. There's also news this morning about a possible new treatment for COVID-19 which reduces the risk of patients ending up in intensive care.
It uses a protein which our bodies produce to fight infections. Let's get more details from our correspondent Justin Rowlett, who's in Southampton, where the biotech firm which makes the treatment is based. What can you tell us, Justin? Morning.
Yeah, this is potentially a very significant development in terms of the treatment of coronavirus. They've developed a treatment. It involves inhaling the protein you mentioned, interferon beta, into the lungs of patients who've been infected with COVID-19. And what it's suggesting is there's a very significant reduction in the deterioration of illness in those patients. They also recover more quickly. They suffer fewer symptoms of breathlessness and are discharged from hospital quicker. So as you see, there's a whole kind of list of beneficial properties it appears to have. There is a health warning, so to speak, about this. This is just the initial results of the trial. The preliminary results of the trial. We haven't seen it in a peer-reviewed journal, so it hasn't been reviewed, and we also haven't seen the full data, so the BBC can't confirm that the claims the company is making are accurate. That said, the company is very enthusiastic. The managing director actually said to me, the results couldn't have been much better than this. It is a very promising result. Interferon beta is known to play a key role in the immune system and has been identified by the UN as a substance that should be involved in further investigation in the context of COVID-19 infection. So in that sense, it's promising. The other promising thing about this treatment is that it's actually been being developed here in Southampton for more than a decade. So they've got quite a lot of research already on tolerance of the treatment by patients with serious lung disease, and indeed have proof that it does stimulate an immune response. So it was already a promising runner in the race for treatments, but this results of this clinical survey really do move it into a different category. It's potentially very significant. Thank you very much indeed.
Health ministers have admitted failing to assess data protection risks around the NHS Test and Trace programme. This is for coronavirus in England. The system traces contacts of people who've been infected with COVID-19, but privacy campaigners are concerned over how personal details are collected and stored. They say the admission means the programme has been unlawful, but the government insists no information has been misused.
EU leaders in Brussels have been talking through the night to try to agree on a coronavirus recovery fund, stretching their two-day summit into a fourth day of negotiation. Some member states believe the €750 billion package is too large and should come as loans, not grants. The summit is the first face-to-face meeting between leaders since lockdowns began in March.
Elsewhere this morning, the Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab is expected to suspend the UK's extradition treaty with Hong Kong later today.
It follows increasing tensions with Beijing over a tightening of civil liberties in the Chinese territory and the decision to ban Huawei from the UK's 5G network.
Our political correspondent Ian Watson can give us a bit more detail. Ian, morning to you. So what is exactly likely to happen today? And I asked this with trepidation. How's it going to go down with the Chinese authorities?
I don't think it will go down desperately well, Dan. What we're expecting today is Dominic Raab, the Foreign Secretary, to come to the House of Commons and give an update on his review of the extradition treaty, which would see those accused of criminal offences sent from the UK to Hong Kong. And that review is likely to conclude with the suspension of that treaty. Now, Britain's reason for doing so is because of the imposition of this sweeping national security law in China, which saw, for example, somebody waving an independence banner being arrested. Britain's already offered to allow people who hold British overseas passports from Hong Kong to come to the UK to live and work. That could affect up to 3 million people. So we're seeing increasing actions, not just rhetoric, between China and the UK. Already, the Chinese ambassador has said that Britain no longer has an independent foreign policy, that we're dancing to America's tune, and he's also said that if provoked, China would retaliate. And we're obviously not simply talking about Hong Kong, where Britain has a treaty with China, has historic obligations, but on a whole range of other areas too, commercial relationships too. You mentioned Huawei, for example. Again, there's been some talk in the Chinese press about retaliation against British companies because we're phasing Huawei out of the 5G network here. And additionally, the British government's focusing very much more now on the plight of the Uyghur Muslim population in Western China, alleging mistreatment. The Chinese ambassador was showing pictures of people being blindfolded and bound yesterday on the BBC. He suggested that some of these accusations are fake. Now, Dominic Raab's still likely to say this afternoon he wants a positive relationship with China. China say they don't want a new Cold War with the West, but my goodness, just look at the backdrop. I think the relationship is going to have to be in need of very urgent repair if it's not going to deteriorate further.
Thank you for that, Ian. Speak to you later on.
The American rapper Kanye West has officially launched his bid for the US presidential election with an emotional rally in which he claimed his father had never wanted him.
My mom saved my life. There would have been no Kanye West because my dad was too busy.
He didn't make any traditional policy announcements at the event in South Carolina, leading some fans to speculate that his campaign is a publicity stunt to promote his music.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.